So hello, welcome back to a new video. Not in my normal YouTube setup because it's full of cameras that I'm using for work projects, big PTZ movable cameras, so the whole space is kind of taken over. So I'm sitting behind my laptop on my normal webcam. So I will also not probably be looking into the camera as much. So why are we here? We are here to review a product from smallrig, an L bracket for the Sony a1ii and a9iii, which is kind of a follow-up of a few videos I did before where I 3D designed, and let me quickly get it up. It's a temporary solution and it's still very workable. I've released that as you have probably seen. But in the same time, I was talking to my friends at smallrig, which over the last 10 years, maybe longer, I've helped them in different projects. And so talking to them, I was asking, hey, will there be an a1ii solution? And they said, yeah, we are kind of working on it, and we provided some feedback in the last 3 months. For practical reasons, it was a little bit delayed, so they made two products. One was a cage, which was already sent out, and the other one was an L bracket, but because of Chinese New Year, it was a tiny bit delayed. But it's now here, and they sent me 2 copies of them. So it's called the smallrig 5188 L bracket for the a1ii and the a9iii. And I want to show you basically what they came up with. Now I will probably make 2 or 3 videos, because first I will just give you a quick overview and my first feelings about it. But later on I also want to... so they sent me 2 of them, by the way, free, not to review. I'm making this video just because I think it's good that people can see it and they have some idea when they order it. But they sent the 2 free versions for me to play around, to already start figuring out how it can be improved. And not the L bracket itself. If there will ever be a version 2, that will have updates maybe, but that's not what we are aiming for. But maybe there will be room for a third product, which is more only an extender and not an L bracket. And that's why they sent me 2 to, I guess basically also as a thank you for helping, but also partly so that I can change one of them to make them into the form that I think works better as a extender and not as an L bracket. So, but for this video, I will just look at it as an L bracket and give you some of my feedback. Let me be upfront. I try not to be biased in a way, but everybody is biased. My first gut feeling is that it will provide what people expect and want from L bracket. So I think it's a pretty good solution for a fair price. So I think it's $60. So let me stop talking and start showing it. So here it is on my A1. I put a really small lens on it so that you can see it more. I also put it in the L bracket mode, so I added the L part. And I will try to show you around the unit so you can see that it's the L part over, the extension is about, I think about 15 millimeters or something. And you can see that it really solves the problem where it all started, and that's that it provides for a longer grip. The second important feature, of course, is that it adds an ARCA plate. Keep in mind, I'm only using one camera as a webcam, so that I'm sort of finding my way to show you. So the third important feature is that it has a door, and the door is hiding. The door is there so that it feels nicer, and it's difficult for me to show, but normally if I hold it, my microphone is now in the way. You can see that it's now closed, and I like it always like that, so that it's not like a big hole which you sort of have with the other L brackets, and your finger sort of falls in if you're holding it. So normally I'm moving a bit back, but normally I will be holding my camera something like this, and you can see that my finger is resting. Sort of on my hand, I sort of rest the camera, and that means that my finger is always in the hole, which I don't like. So I really like that I closed up the bottom part. But the important trick is that there's a hidden compartment there, and if you open it up, you can see it over here. It has a space for an AirTag. So you can put a tracker in there, an Apple tracker in there, and you can track your camera where it is. And once it is closed up, you can just close the door and you can see that it works. So let me turn it around a bit. You can see that, which I did not put in, so let me put it in. So it comes with a tool again, and you can slide that tool in the opening in the back. Let me put it in. So now if I show you, you can see that the tool is now hidden over there. And there you have the Arca plate. And yeah, this is kind of what it is. So yeah, the important first feeling is that it feels quite nice. I've now put the L part on there. You can move this a little bit left and right before you attach it. Of course, you can also move it out. So if you normally take that little tool that they provide, you can open up the side part. Again, sorry for the bad camera angles, but that's the result of me sitting behind the webcam. But you can see, like always, you can move it in and out. But you can also move it a bit like this. So you can kind of decide which port you might want to block when it's closed up. Because access to the ports is, I wouldn't say more limited than normal, but it's a compromise. Let me say it like that. So you can use the different ports if you open it up, but you can't use all the ports at the same time if it's closed up. But the good news is that has to do with the design of the a1ii and the a1ii and the a9iii, is that there's no hole here anymore to turn in your flippy screen, which was needed in some of the older designs. We now have a totally closed up L bracket again, which I think is always better. But as a result, of course, you can't really rotate the screen anymore. But because of the A1 and the a9iii allowing you to extend it and then flip it around, you can see that it now can rotate perfectly fine. So because of this extra freedom in the door, they decided to close up this hole, which makes it a better L part again. Hopefully this makes sense, but there is some compromises there, but you can take it off if you don't want an L bracket. I normally don't have an L bracket on there, so I will remove it. But I wanted to show you how it feels. So some observations, also some practical things. On the bottom there are several 1/4 connections. And of course the way that you connect it with the tool, there's a XD holder plug so that you can plug in your XD if you have used that system. And there is the screw for the L part. And you can see that what they did is that the Arca plate is kind of shifted over compared to the old models. So what I mean with that, if I take my own 3D printed one, you can kind of see that that is in the middle. This is going to be a messy video, but you can see if I try to align it, you can see that this one is shifted over a bit. So they did that so that the screen on this part has more freedom to open up. So now, of course, if I open it up like this, for example, in low mode, it does not hit the L bracket, which it might do if they didn't shift it over. So as a result, it's a little bit coming out of the front, which they have done before in other L brackets. It does not really bother me personally, but it's not totally flush. It actually extends about, I would say, about 5 millimeters. So the width of the Arca plate is sort of extended from the body, which but is not done on some of the older designs. But as a result, you have much more room here, which is good and bad, in my opinion, in that it does not block the screen. Now, that's probably also the only thing that I don't really like about it. In a way, and again, this is a compromise. In my prototype, I did kind of use this space, and in a way that would block the screen because you also had to pull it out before you could rotate it down. But it does provide a little bit more protection. This way, I feel the hit from below is not that protected. Now, you have to compare that to not using an L bracket at all. If you don't use an L bracket, the screens on the a1ii and the a9iii, because they extend out, and also the R5, because they extend out a tiny bit more, I think they are more likely to be hit. And that's kind of just the way that the camera is designed. What I did in my 3D printed version, and you can see that here, that I kind of made an sort of an protrusion, and if you can see it from above, so the screen is over here, so that if you hit it from below, it will probably glance off in that design. So that will compromise and probably irritate quite a few people, that you have to sort of compromise with the screen, pulling it out a little bit before you can rotate it down, but it will provide some protection from below. That's probably the biggest difference between the two designs in the way that you use it. It totally feels fine. You see these holes in there, which I think is also a compromise. Of course, this has to be plastic, and the door has to be plastic, because the AirTag or whatever in the future unit you put in there that needs wireless access can't be encased in metal. So the door and these holes over here and in the back are there to make sure that the signal is getting out. That's again a compromise which I think makes total sense. So you can sort of, I'm not sure if there's much more to tell about it. I think it's a pretty solid product for the price. I think it's a great value for the price. My feeling is also that compared to some of the old, that's kind of been evolving in the last few years, I think this is a very light product. And what I mean with that is, in the old L brackets, if you have been using them for 6 or 7 years, they were quite chunky and heavy. And this feels almost like it's made for a smaller camera, like an A6600 sort of series, in that this is kind of quite elegant and sort of light, which is good, because that means that it gives you all the features of the L bracket. And let me also show you that you can of course put it in the Arca plate quite easily. So you can see it's very easy to click in. This is in the Peak Design one. And you can see, open it up, click it in. And what's also really nice is that I still use one of the protection pins in this one. You can see there's a protection camera, it's a protection pin, and that does fall correctly into a space that it does not block. And as a result, that means that it is even if you don't lock it in, your camera is still protected from side movement. So, because I have to unlock the bit because it's quite tight, but you can see it can't get out, which I think is very important. And I asked for that they made sure that still works. So that means that there's enough room here where the pin can fall in. I think it's a good solution, and if you are wanting to order it, there's probably still in their first batch. So if you order it now, they sent me a shipping signal 2 days ago, and it got here today. So that's quite quick. I'm not sure what else to say about it. I think it's a pretty solid product. It's the first one which, and it's also has a pin there. Oh, sorry, there, in there. So that means that there is rubber inside. Let me show you the other one, because I have 2 of them. Also doesn't mean that I don't have to hold of the camera anymore. So here you can see it out of the one. I also did not put the L part on it, so you can even remove this part and then this becomes flat again. But you can see in the inside there is rubber there, and there's also a holding pin. So over here, which goes into the body. Now, that was also done on the older Sony cameras, but that was not as big. So this one is actually way more solid. Again, a change that Sony made, but smallrig is now using that hole over there. There's another possible pin over here. They are not using it because of this tool. So, but this should be enough, especially with this rubber. And it also has quite a good sort of lining over here, all the way here, not on this side because of the screen, but it's kind of quite deep. That means that the camera is quite flush in there, and I don't think we will ever see any movement. I suspect. So yeah, and again you can see here the AirTag, and if you open this one, you can see how the door sort of works. So it sort of opens and clicks. I'm really in a weird position now. And it opens and it clicks. I'm not sure if I already showed taking a battery out, so let me do that because otherwise people might not believe it. The whole argument is that it will only take like 2 seconds more to open it up to remove the battery. And just to show that, you can see I opening the top door, then the bottom, which you can't see, so let me do it again and try to get it on the camera. You can see it's closed up, open up the lock and then open up the normal lock and then find the battery, there it's out, put the battery in, close up the normal door, close up the new door, and you're done. So that's okay, quite a messy video, but don't consider this a real review, more of like a first look, but it gives you an idea about what this is. Hopefully if there are no more questions about it, and otherwise just ask me on the different channels. But this is the smallrig, what is the number, 5188. That means that they already have made 5188 products, because every product gets a new number. Again, personally I will take this part out and probably start making some small changes to it to make it better for my personal use and also kind of like research. But their idea is that you can take this part out and just use it as a base plate, or you can use it as an L bracket, which I've now shown you how it acts on the camera. I can probably take it off for a second, because most likely I will use it without that part. It comes with 2 tools. One tool which has the screwdriver to be able to remove or open up the inner part so that you can put in your AirTag over here. And the other tool is the tool to open up, remove it from the camera and open up the L port bracket, which I'm now taking off just to show you. A little bit of work. So now I've taken it off and you can see there's a hole there, but that's because I take it totally off. But now, of course, it feels different because you don't have this side part anymore. And as you can see what I was talking about, I normally have my finger, you can kind of see it there below it. And of course I'm now using a really small lens, which is not a bad lens, but really small. So it looks, so that you can see it easier when I was filming it. So yeah, this is it, the first sort of review of the L bracket, mostly to notify people that it's now finally shipping and you can start ordering it. And I think it does its job for what it was made for. I would give it let's say an 8 out of 10 for what I want to use it as. And I think as an L bracket, the only downside that I see is probably 2 downsides. The first one is that the L part, you still it blocks a little bit of the ports, which I think is a compromise that you have to work with. You either have to extend it. It's really almost impossible to get a perfect solution if you have a flippy screen, especially if one is so flexible as the new Sonys now have. And the second downside or compromise, I would say, is that the space under the LCD screen is quite open, which they did so that they don't block the flexibility. But as a downside, if it drops a little bit more unlucky, then it does not give as much protection to the camera and especially the LCD screen than some of the older designs. So that's the 2 downsides that I see. But overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10 easily. So very nice product for a very nice price. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye. And the next one will be probably me showing you how I've adapted it using 3D printing, and will provide it also back to smallrig and possible feedback. So again, bye bye.